What's going on, guys? We're back. I wanted to show you guys our Discord because we are. How many people we have in here? I think we're almost at 4,000 people in this Discord, which is crazy. But there's a reason because we've got a ton of different really cool channels that people are able to learn a lot from. So we have we have the unedited, uncensored content. The people's heads blowing off and body parts flying everywhere, the nasty shit, right? We have that in here for our members, and it's down here, not safe for work archive right here. Okay. Now, aside from that, we've got a ton of other channels: drone technology, music, mental health, outdoor talks, cooking and food, pets. So I mean, and there's just a ton of cool shit in all of them. And we have live news in Ukraine. We have a workout channel where we people talk about their workouts and prepping for their training here in Ukraine when they arrive and what they're doing. So war discussion, there's all kinds of cool shit. So I wanted to show you guys this because it is becoming, there's more and more and more people coming into it. Some people are new to Discord, or this is the first time they've ever had a Discord. So I want to kind of show you. This is the server. These are all the different channels. And you can become, if you become a member, you have access to different channels as well. It's kind of how it works. So it's very cool. Check it out. Aside from this, also we have recruiters and other Azov soldiers in this server. So if you want to come in here and talk with a recruiter, you have specific questions, maybe you want to talk to some of the boys who are actually out here working, who came from my channel, right? They came from my channel to Ukraine, join Azov, and are killing, or they're working out east, okay? If you want to talk to those guys, they're in here too. So check this out. The link will be in the description, okay? We'll leave it at that. I will need to close this though, because if I leave it up while we're doing the video, it's going to just bing, 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 bing the whole time. Okay. So here, we got a video from War Leaks. We like War Leaks. We've broken down a lot of their content in the past. Seems like pretty reliable channel to me. This says Ukraine War MG3 machine gun helmet cam combat. International fighters storm Russian village. So this is an International Legion video. For those of you who don't know, I was in the International Legion. I was in 1st Battalion, Charlie Platoon, 3rd Company, C3. So this will be interesting. I want to see this. Plus the G3, man, it's just a badass, tried and true piece of history, really. I mean, this machine gun was used in World War II, and it's still out here killing Russians to this day. So, I don't know. It was killing Russians almost 100 years ago, and it's still doing it. Almost 100 years ago, is that right? Not quite. Like 80, maybe. Fuck me. All right, let's check this out, huh? Hey, $90 billion aid package from the U.S. to Ukraine. That's big, man. And I want to be clear, I don't typically get into politics or anything, and that's not me talking about politics. That's just a fact. That's a bill that passed, and it's aid that's coming to Ukraine that directly affects my life here in Ukraine. So it's something I'm going to talk about. So,
the MG3 is a fearsome weapon, and right now, just in this moment, it is being used to clear a Russian trench. That is because it can be used both offensively and defensively. Building on the legacy of its predecessor, it has already earned legendary status in certain circles. Join us in today's episode as we take a closer look at the German...
Building on its legendary predecessor, so maybe this isn't the exact type that was used in World War II.
MG3 in trench combat in Ukraine. This
Legion.
Brazilian volunteer, fighting in the ranks of...
This says, let me move my... It's the Serebransk Forest Luhansk International Legion.
Ukraine is defending his position against a Russian attack in the Serebryansky forest. He is armed with an FNFAL, but in the background we could already hear an MG3 sawing through the woods. The fighter joins his buddies at the MG3 position and begins sending aimed shots with his rifle downrange toward the Russian positions. The intensity of the battle the men are currently engaged in can clearly be measured by the level of the combat noise and the high volume of fire. All of a sudden, a huge blast shakes the area. The men, however, remain calm and composed, a clear sign that this was certainly not their first rodeo. The fighter's rate of fire also shows that he is not intimidated by the Russian attack and continues to respond with controlled, precise shots. Shortly after, the MG3 joins in and resumes firing in controlled bursts as well.
That is such a mean-sounding gun, dude. It gave me chills. That is just one of the nastiest sounding rifles. Also, this FNFAL, aren't these like 7.62 or 308 caliber typically? I'm surprised to see this here. But if the MG3 is also 7.62, that would make more sense, because then they may just run mostly 7.62 in their fire team or their unit.
The Brazilian fighter now shifts position to cover a different field of fire. MG3 machine guns have seen extensive use in the Serebryansky forest, as shown here in this helmet camera footage from the perspective of a Ukrainian machine gunner. The MG3 is generally reliable when well maintained, but comparative testing has shown it is not the most forgiving design under extreme conditions. Fine sand, mud, or lack of lubrication can cause feeding issues in any machine gun, but the MG3's recoil-operated mechanism, with its tight roller lock tolerances, may be somewhat less tolerant of debris than gas-operated guns. The MG3 entered Ukraine's war largely through German aid, but Italy also provided an undisclosed number of its MG 42/59 machine guns, an Italian license-built variant of the German MG3. Initially, many MG3s were likely issued to Ukrainian Territorial Defense Forces or National Guard units to bolster their firepower, since these formations had a mix of older Soviet and donated weapons.
PKM, MG3. MG3, this is a good way to give you a comparison of the size, because PKMs are big, and this just shows you how fucking big the MG3 is, and it's just all metal. It's heavy as hell. You gotta be a tank to carry this thing, dude.
Western arms.
But some people love them, dude. Machine gunners are a different breed, no pun intended. Machine gunners are different, dude, and almost every machine gunner I've met, it has a very specific preference. Like, some of them will love the M240 Bravo. That's all they'll ever use. Some of them love the SAW. Some of them love the PKM.
MG3 is robust, easy to keep running with basic training, and designed for rapid barrel changes. The cartridge it fires has reach and punch, able to chew through light cover and damage unarmored vehicles. When a position needs to be held, an MG3 team can lay interlocking lanes of fire and make open ground very costly. But there are trade-offs. The MG3 fires fast, so fast that ammunition disappears quickly and barrels heat up in moments. Crews must work in short, controlled bursts, swap barrels on schedule, and manage belts and links with discipline. It is also a heavy system to carry over distance, and on a simple bipod it can be harder to keep perfectly on target than slower firing guns. For long patrols or when endurance matters more than shock, lighter or slower systems may be preferred. Training and logistics smooth out many of these issues. Units learn the rhythm of loading, charging, and bursting. Assistants handle spare barrels and ammunition. On vehicles, stability and optics make the gun more precise and effective day or night. In defensive lines, stockpiled belts and planned fields of fire let the MG3 do what it does best without pause. The same is true here, where an MG3 fire team sets up a shaky base of fire to engage Russian positions.
Very shaky.
Watch as the gunner takes up an unusual firing position to improve his aim. Now he is about to give the Russians a taste of the MG3's full belt. This dedication deserves your like. Fire is most likely harassment fire, intended to disrupt Russian positions and restrict their movement. Such fire is less about inflicting immediate casualties and more about keeping the enemy under pressure, lowering their morale, and limiting their freedom of action. Harassment fire can vary in intensity, from sporadic bursts to a steady rhythm of shots. At one moment it may come as a sudden, isolated crack meant to unsettle, while at another it can settle into a repeated, methodical cadence that keeps defenders pinned down and on edge. The alternation between brief, unpredictable bursts and prolonged strings of fire is what makes it effective, never allowing the enemy to know whether they are facing a minor distraction or the opening phase of a larger attack.
There's something to be said about the mental effects of a machine gun in a firefight, both on both sides, right? If it's on your side, it feels good to hear that thing open up and you realize, hey, we now have fire superiority. Especially if you're against, a few conscripts opened up and they're just pop shotting with AKs, right? And your machine gunner opens up. It's like immediate fire superiority. Those guys, you already know, those Russians are like, well, they're taking cover, right? But on the flip side of things, if you are approaching a position or you're assaulting a position, you hear the enemy open up with a machine gun, that's top priority. You need to eliminate the machine gun quickly. Machine gunners are one of the top priorities for FPV drone pilots as well. If there's a team assaulting, they usually have friendly drone surveillance, and once they get into contact, if there's an enemy machine gun position, which they usually know beforehand, FPVs will just slam it.
This time, however, the men show mercy and pull back after the belt is spent. We find ourselves in another situation with the International Legion.
We saw this.
They are about to clear a small house. In situations like these, this squad lets a fragmentation grenade do the work for them first. They then proceed to pour fire into the building through its doorway and windows. The presence of Russian forces in the building is confirmed.
There's Russians! There's voices inside!
With Russian forces inside and the men's limited firepower on the outside, they have little choice but to clear the building from within. Inside the building, the troops have to contend with low visibility and cramped conditions as they attempt to get to the enemy. Once again, a grenade is the preferred weapon of choice. But before that, one of the Legionnaires asks for confirmation of enemy contact again.
Did you get contact?
I could have swore I saw a cigarette!
That's because, unlike the Russians, the men must make sure there are no civilians in the house.
Throw another grenade!
Grenade!
The grenade is thrown, and the men storm deeper into the house.
Ah! Shoot! Shoot! Go! In! I can't see!
Clearing a house is a dangerous process that is both time and man.
We watched that specific CQB video, and I kind of tore it apart a bit because, which I don't usually do. You guys know that I'm very understanding that there's 100 different ways to do. There's 100 different strategies when it comes to combat, especially CQB. But when I see multiple just big no-nos in a row, I've got to call it out.
Power intensive to secure the assault.
And my point of saying that was one of those is they threw that frag in this room right here. It went off, and then that guy's like, go, go, go. And they just fucking fight. They just push each other into this room. Nobody can see shit. I mean, there could have been a dude in the corner that could have just wasted all of these dudes. They couldn't see anything. So typically what I would recommend, or what we would do, is you throw that frag in, boom, you wait a couple seconds, and then you basically dump in there. Or you have somebody just pie the room from outside the doorway, and he's looking, okay, and then one person will go in, maybe two.
Security elements are usually required to take up positions outside the building, protecting the storming soldiers from potential interference by enemy relief forces. Here we have a better view of the International Legion clearing a house.
Lock.
Once again, the assault is initiated with the use of a grenade.
Baby. Back, grenade!
After that, the men get ready to open fire.
Give him hell, son.
However, after a few shots, one gun jams. That doesn't stop the rest of the squad from compensating for the loss by increasing their volume of fire. During a brief fire pause, the cameraman tries to communicate with the Russians. What did he say? Write it in the comments. The footage you see here is archival material from the days of the Battle of Kursk. Back then, the men had very clear orders on how to deal with Russian infiltrators.
So essentially, whenever a drone above the village would spot any Russian activity whatsoever, we'd get a call radio and they'd be like, there are Russian Spetsnaz in this building, go f them up. And that was our command directive in that village.
This directive led to countless engagements like this. In general, the best way to deal with enemy strongpoints is to destroy the house with explosives, tanks, or airstrikes. But when that kind of firepower isn't available, the only option is to use grenade airstrike to deal.
There's a lot going on here, so I'm gonna continue breaking it down. If we run too long, I'll make this a two-part video. But I want to point this out because I've had multiple people ask about frag grenades and like, are they sketchy? And I notice also people who are newer to this kind of a combat environment, they're really sketched out. Like new recruits are really sketched out with frags. They're scared to carry them. They're scared the pin's gonna fall out. Watch this here.
With enemy strong points is to.
It's hard to see.
Led to countless engagements like this. In general.
See, he's trying to pull the pin right now, but there's the pin is barbed out, and it has like two prongs that hook around the fuse. The part that sticks up. So he's trying to pull it. He physically can't do it until he pulls these prongs. They're like aluminum or something, right? So you pull them straight so that when you pull the pin, they'll come out of the hole. Watch. So he can't get it right now.
The best way to deal with enemy.
Boom. Okay. These are the pins that I'm talking about. The prongs, and this is the pin. This is the fuse. I need to. You guys probably can't see my little mouse cursor, but.
Enemy strong points is to destroy the house with explosives, tanks, or airstrikes. But when that kind of firepower isn't available, the only option is to use grenades and small arms. This is a very time-consuming process that often forces the soldiers to expose themselves in the open for extended periods, making them potential targets for drones and artillery.
I'm so sorry, boss. The door blew back on me.
As a result, the soldiers operate under constant stress and time pressure, which can lead to mistakes. However, this time the mistake was minor. The Legionnaire merely misjudged the force with which the door was blown back at them. Also, no drones or artillery targeted them immediately, which gave them some time to operate freely in the open air. As you can probably see, the international fighters carried out countless such operations, almost all following the same pattern. That's not always the case, of course, but over time, certain standard operating procedures develop for particular situations. One common method, already mentioned several times, is to open the assault with a grenade, followed by heavy fire to demoralize the defender and deny them any ability to respond to the attack. This approach also serves to push any surviving enemies deeper into the building, so the attackers can exploit the resulting gap and enter. Once inside, the fighting turns into close quarters combat, and the attackers are at least somewhat protected from aerial threats such as drones and artillery. It is nevertheless well known that the Russians will still respond with artillery even when friendly forces are engaged in close combat. This is the case because the Russians do not seem to view the tactical level in the same way as Western armed forces, assigning no priority to the survivability of individual elements.
Dude, the professionalism of this team here, as opposed to the first team that we saw kind of struggling in that building is night and day. These guys are much better. You can see how much time they've spent outside of these couple of houses, this house, just throwing grenades, putting rounds through the walls, through the windows. They spent so much time and effort on the outside, which is, in my opinion, mandatory. The best way to do CQB in Ukraine is to not do it. You want to fucking level the house. You want to blow it up, blow up everything. The last thing you want to do is go in there. Sometimes it's inevitable, sometimes you have to, but you want to make sure that whoever or whatever is in there is dead.
Observers even go so far as to claim that the Russians appear to have no real concept of the tactical level at all, always starting instead from the operational level. While this certainly holds some truth, especially during the early stages of the war, the Russians have by now adopted their own set of small unit tactics aimed at achieving success on the tactical level, as their current modus operandi on the front line shows. Although they still pay little attention to the survivability of individual elements, they have nevertheless developed concepts and approaches that, at least in abstract terms, statistically increase the chances of getting a small portion of their troops alive to their objectives, where situations like the one we see on screen then unfold. Where situations the chance
Scared the fuck out of me, dude. That's having that crossfire like that. It shows a degree of professionalism that they didn't just light each other up, but that is scary. That makes you pucker.
of getting a small portion of their troops alive to their
Right there.
objectives, where situations like the one we see here on screen then unfold. Here, the assault of a Russian armored section is interrupted by the use of FPV drones. The first target is the rear vehicle, a BMP. The hit immobilizes it, and the infantry dismounts to flee on foot. Judging by the surrounding terrain, this is the worst possible place to be on foot in a drone war. Now it's the lead tank's turn. At first, its armor allows it to withstand the hits a little better, but after countless persistent strikes, it too eventually comes to a halt. The vehicle ends up just a few meters in front of a sparse tree line and is hit 2 more times. As a result, it catches fire and is completely knocked out of the fight. This Russian attack came to a dead end. We see a turtle tank equipped with a mine plow in front of a giant Ukrainian anti-tank ditch that it could not overcome. As if that weren't enough, an FPV drone moves in for the final strike. Although the impact looks relatively unspectacular, it is enough to set the tank on fire and send it toward its slow fate of demilitarization. Here, a Russian drone observes the attack of a Ukrainian MRAP on Russian positions. At high speed, the vehicle leaves the road and races through a field with the goal of reaching the edge of a wooded area nearby. The Russian drone is still monitoring the Ukrainian vehicle closely, but lets it carry on for now.
I'm a big fan of MRAPs. They have less armor than your standard like BMP or your Spartans, your M113s. They have less armor, but if you have a cage built around it, which a cage on an infill or exfil vehicle is mandatory in this stage of the war. Their MRAPs are way faster. They have more room within the actual compartment, like the actual cabin area of the MRAP. They're more modern. They're my preference. We've taken a couple FPVs during an infill while in an MRAP, and it was fine. We were fine. It didn't even stop our vehicle. Eventually they did, but we had already dismounted and moved on, and they ended up taking it out afterwards. But MRAPs are nice. You can see how fast, how mobile they are.
As it reaches its designated drop-off point, it opens fire into the tree line with its onboard weapon to cover the dismounting of a squad of Ukrainian troops who rush into the forest to take up positions under the cover of the trees. While drone feeds are silent, we can see the men in the vehicle putting out a high volume of fire, so it must have been quite loud on the ground, underscoring the intensity of the situation. Suddenly, the Ukrainian vehicle shifts into reverse and nearly runs over a comrade, though fortunately it doesn't happen. It seems they were aware of the Russian drone's presence and therefore of the urgency. Sadly, they were right, as a Russian FPV drone intercepted the MRAP just moments later. Despite the hit, the vehicle kept moving for a while, but eventually came to a standstill, where it was struck by another FPV drone. A stark reminder that drone warfare goes in both directions, and its dangers are present for all sides at all times. The Russians then went on the hunt for the remaining crew members and the previously dismounted infantry. For this, they used, who would have thought it, drones. However, this can only be shown on Telegram.
Whoa,
Here we see a Russian drones. However, this can only be shown on Telegram. Here we see a Russian soldier on a motorcycle carrying a heavy bomber drone on his back. Only one propeller is spinning, but do you think he would have taken off if with it all four were working? The devastating capabilities of these heavier bomber drones are showcased very well here. Because of their size, they can carry larger and heavier payloads, allowing them to effectively target fixed positions, even those that are more fortified. Against armored targets, these drones are typically equipped with mines, RPG rounds, or other heavy explosives designed to disable or destroy vehicles. When used against fixed structures such as houses, as shown in this case, they often carry incendiary payloads, which are scarily effective at setting buildings ablaze and flushing out anyone inside. The versatility of these drones makes them a constant threat on the battlefield, as they can be adapted for both anti-armor, structure, and anti-personnel roles, turning almost any position into a potential target. And even more unsettling, since these are predefined fixed targets, the process can already be largely automated. At this point, the drones only need to be
That's interesting, man. I've seen these on, like, in the field, but I haven't seen a video of them or them up close like this. It's some kind of a fuse or ignition source, and it's wrapped with bottles of fuel, some kind of gasoline, petrol, diesel.
This can already be largely automated. At this point, the drones only need to be manually rearmed and recharged by a human before their next flight.
Oh, shit, I wanted to try
Additionally, the target coordinates still have to be set manually beforehand, but after that, the rest could run on autopilot if desired. Here, Ukrainian soldiers even equipped such a drone with a 155mm artillery shell, effectively turning it into a 155mm kamikaze drone. An expensive trick given that these drones typically cost around $20,000. A standard high-explosive 150. These drones typically cost around $20,000.
That you don't kamikaze the vampire or Baba Yaga style drones. This strap mechanism they have here obviously releases somehow. Plus, they still have the safety cap on it right here, so they...
A standard high-explosive 155mm shell costs roughly $4,000 per unit, so this setup would cost at least $24,000. By comparison, precision-guided munitions like the M982 Excalibur can be substantially more expensive, with total operating costs approaching $100,000 per shell in 2022. So if the improvised drone could even fly...
But this is what's changed the game here in Ukraine. We're almost at 30 minutes, so I'll probably end it here. But this, Baba Yaga's, these big, these heavyweight carrying drones, they call them vampire-style drones. When they drop, the fact that they can carry munitions like this and drop munitions like this makes almost no position safe on the zero line. You can have logs, typically standard SOP for any bondage bunker is to have these big thick logs, right? And you have 3 layers. One layer goes this way, one layer goes this way, another layer goes this way, right? Like Lincoln logs kind of. And this will take that out. I know people who have been hit by the same munition in a bunker like that, and they've survived, but it crumbled the whole thing. They were just lucky they were able to slide out and escape. This is what's changed. Well, one of the things that's changed so much in this conflict. You can't hide anymore. Or you need to be really, really deep underground, which if the further forward you are, the harder it is and the more time it takes to dig a really deep hole. You don't have that kind of time when you're that far forward. There's so much surveillance, they're going to FPV you. You can't bring fucking tractors and shit out there that far forward. So anyways, this is a cool ass video, dude. I'm having a lot of fun with this one because we're getting combat footage and breakdowns of like really specific strategies and techniques and methods of war here. So Love this. Do me a favor, like, share, subscribe. Let's blow this fucking channel up, you guys. It's been the support's been incredible, and I just want to keep going. I would love to get to 100,000. I know it's a long shot, but it is my goal. 100,000 subs by Christmas, or it's like 2 months away. Let's fucking go for it. I love you guys. Discord link down below. Azov application down below. See you in the next video.